swig of my water real quick.
Yeah. Hold up. I'm going to grab my water real quick.
Oh, Shaneson, the recording has started, so hopefully you got your water now. You got it?
I didn't understand a word that you said, but okay.
The recording has started. Like, that means that, like, we're live on air. So, like,
Oh,
people,
that's cool.
Yeah, so people can, like, they're listening now.
Awesome. Let's get this started.
Okay, yeah. We got to get to enthusiasm, Shaneson. What's going on, guys? It is Will here, back again once again for the first 2022 edition of the Gridiron Talk podcast. Once again, here with my man Shane. We guys all hope you had a great New Year's Eve. Hope your New Year's Day is going great. Whether you spend it with your friends, family, or whatever. It's always good to start a new year. It takes turning over a new leaf, starting a new chapter, whatever. But New Year's Day, we got a bunch of college football. Unfortunately, Michigan did lose to Georgia. GG to Shaneson. Don't worry, guys, because Shane will be saying that college football is bullshit when Alabama creams Georgia again. So he'll be complaining about that. Currently, right now, Utah is beating Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. So Ohio State's terrible. If you like Ohio State, then you're just kind of you might be on drugs, honestly. Ohio State's like the Steelers of college football. I'm not gonna lie, but let's stop with the all dilly-dallying and talking about college football. So for this episode, it's just like normal. We got some NFL news. We got a bunch of sad NFL news that we're gonna go over, and we're just gonna go over the games like we always do. So Shane, do you have anything else to add before we start this episode?
R.I.P. Betty White. Like, come on now. Gotta respect the lady of the USA.
We all took a shot yesterday for Sister White. Me and my family, we did a shot of peppermint vodka for Sister White. R.I.P. So yeah, let's get going. Also, shout out my boy Joey for doing the thumbnail this week, as he always does. Forgot to do that last week, so my fault. But this week we got Joey B, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Devontae Adams. And we're gonna go talk more about Joe Burrow and T. Higgins, what they did to the Baltimore Ravens more when we talk about the Bengals. But let's get going. So the Patriots extend starting strong safety Adrian Phillips to a 3-year deal worth $2.75 million. Good signing. He's a good safety for the Patriots, and he just makes their defense. They're already good defense, a bit more good for the long run. Kirk Cousins is diagnosed with COVID-19, and backup quarterback Sean Mannion will start for Minnesota against Green Bay. Jimmy Garoppolo, 49ers starting quarterback, is out for the Texans game with a thumb fracture and a UCL tear. So he is out for the near future. We don't really know how long he'll be out, but Trey Lance will be playing against the Houston Texans. This is some big news. We got the NFL is now following the CDC guidance on the quarantine for COVID-19. So if you guys don't know, the CDC, and basically most states, I think, when you have COVID now, you only have to quarantine for 5 days if you're asymptomatic on day 5. So if you get COVID on the 5th day, if you're don't have a fever or anything, you're good to stop quarantining. So the NFL is currently following that as well. So Shane, what are your thoughts on that? Because it used to be there was if you're unvaxxed, and this is for unvaxxed and vaxxed. So if you were unvaccinated and you got COVID in the NFL, you had to miss 10 days. So you're basically guaranteed to miss one game. And if you were vaxxed, it was you have to test negative, you have to show 2 negative tests on the game day. But now it's just a 5-day quarantine regardless. So you could get sick on Monday and play on Sunday. So what are your thoughts on the new COVID guidelines for the NFL? You agree with them? You disagree with them? Or
I disagree with the whole this is what I mean. Cutting it down to 5 days, I agree with. Because most people are fine after 3 days. But what I don't agree with is if you can stop they said, and correct me if I'm wrong. You said because I don't keep up with all the COVID-19 crap. On the 5th day, if you still have COVID but you're asymptomatic, you don't have to quarantine. I think that's stupid. I think that's just going to make it worse in the long run. So I don't agree with that part. But cutting it down to 5 days, if you cut it down to 5 days and you don't have COVID, if you go and get tested on the 5th day and you don't have COVID, and then you don't have to quarantine, I'm fine with that. But if you still have COVID on that 5th day, you still have to wait another 3 days or whatever.
It's another 5 days. It's another 5 days.
Or another 5 days or whatever. But letting them even if you do have COVID but you're asymptomatic, that's just stupid in my opinion. But I'm not. It's whatever. But those are my thoughts
So
on it.
the biggest factor on this is this week with Carson Wentz and the Colts because he is unvaccinated. And he, as long as he tests negative tomorrow, he will be able to play because he got COVID on like Monday or whatever. So it's kind of crazy. But Kirk Cousins got COVID like yesterday, so that is unfortunate. But now, lastly in news, we're going to talk about two deaths of two coaches. The lesser known of the two for more casual or younger fans is Dan Reeves. He passed away at the age of 77. Dan Reeves was the original coach of the Denver Broncos when they had John Elway. He took them to 3 Super Bowls. Unfortunately, he lost them all. And he was the Falcons coach when they ironically played the Broncos in Super Bowl 38, 37, something like that. And then he was a coach. He also coached the quarterback like Mike Vick. He is Shannon Sharp for the Denver Broncos. Warwick Dunn for the Atlanta Falcons. So he passed away, Dan Reeves, at the age of 77. R.I.P. And the other death, the more notable of the two, is John Madden, legendary Oakland Raiders coach, commentator, the founder of the Madden football games. He also passed away last week at the age of 85. Now, if you're like me, and how did most people get into football? Madden, you played Madden, you learned all the plays from Madden, and it's just really, really sucks that John Madden unexpectedly passed away. So, Shane, do you have anything you want to add about Dan Reeves or John Madden passing away?
RPO peak zone bubble, baby. No, John. I think I always loved watching football games. John Madden broadcast because they not that they sounded smarter, but John Madden was a football guru. Obviously, older kids like me and you, where 19, 20, the younger kids won't understand it. The preteens, that generation won't understand the impact John Madden had on us watching football and on Madden in general, because he did create the Madden franchise for the Madden games, which I hope they do like a legendary game like next year with him on the cover. I really think he should be on the next cover, especially since he died. But that's Dan Reeves. He was an awesome coach. I believe he also won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys as a player or assistant coach, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But it sucks to lose two legends to the sport.
It does suck, and both of them will be never forgotten. And a quote by John Madden I remember is, John Madden, he had a record of like 112 and 33 or something like that. He was really, really good, and he kind of retired younger for a coach. I mean, he only was the coach of the Raiders for 9 or 10 years, and the reason for why he retired is because he said, "I only want to be the Oakland Raiders coach. I don't want to coach any other team." And then after he retired from coaching, he obviously became a commentator. He had a lot of legendary moments, particularly on Thanksgiving. You can go find all of his clips on on YouTube. John Madden also popularized like the marker, like instant replay marker drawings. So he would circle a guy and be like, "Well, this guy, blah blah blah," and like he kind of came up with that. So John Madden will be missed. R.I.P. both of them. Sending prayers to their families. But let's just get going. Talk about more happy stuff. Let's talk about this week in football, man. So the first game we're going to be talking about, there is no Thursday game. That's why we're doing it on Saturday. And this is also, unless they flex a game for Sunday night, this is the last game with primetime games as well, which is interesting. So we got the Atlanta Falcons, who are 7-8, versus the Buffalo Bills, who are 9-6. The Bills are 14.5-point favorites. So the Bills upset the Patriots last week. They currently lead the AFC East, and they have their electric swagger back in full force. They're playing like the Bills of last year. Now, can they beat Atlanta and eliminate them from playoff contention? Yes. The Falcons are only in the playoff contention because they've been playing really bad teams. I do like the future for the Falcons on some aspects. I love Kyle Pitts. I love AJ Terrell. He's been really a baller for the Falcons. He's not really getting any love or recognition. But Shane, what are your thoughts on this game between the Falcons and the Bills? There's really not much to really talk about on the Falcons side of the ball. The Bills are just looking like a great team again, while the Falcons are somehow still in the playoff hunt despite being a really bad team. So just give me your general thoughts on this game.
Well, in my opinion, the only reason the Falcons are either in the hunt is because every win they've had is against mediocre or terrible teams. We've discussed that in the past. As for the Bills, They surprised me last week. I thought they were on a little, not a downfall, but like they were playing mid throughout the last portion of this season. And they came to play last week, and you know, Stephon Diggs, famous quote so far is, just shut the f up. To all the haters, I guess. Which I was a hater. I'll admit to it. I didn't think the Bills would win that game.
No, I think he said "suck my blank," Shaneson. I don't want to say it on podcast.
Oh no, neither do I. I want to keep this,
That was
PG-13.
that was cold though. He said, "You suck my beep." If I was the Patriots fans, like I'm surprised they didn't jump the fence. People in Boston are like crazy, like they're like nuts. So
yeah, but they're not Buffalo fans though.
Oh no, they're more. Yeah, they're more nuts.
If Mac Jones said that to a Buffalo fan, he'd be going through a table. But
I saw this thing. Wait, real quick. I saw this thing where somebody put a table on like a frozen river or a lake chain, and they jumped through the table and went through the ice. A Bills fan.
Yeah, the crackheads. I've seen it in person. They are literal crackheads.
Alert! Laser!
Anyways, there really isn't much to talk about. I mean, the Bills' defense, they stepped it up. So did their offense. Their offense was the struggling point for the past few weeks, and they picked it up against the Patriots. So hopefully they continue it into the playoffs. And I think the Bills are obviously going to win this game. The Falcons, I like the Falcons' future, but if they get the right coaching, maybe we'll see them in the hunt again next year. But maybe they'll actually face some serious
Before we
competition.
talk about scores, I was actually going to say, people when we think of rookie head coaches this year, a lot of ones who are getting the most attention are like Dan Campbell for the Lions. You could tell he's a good coach, and he's just got a very bad hand.
I do have something to say about the Lions season when we start talking about them, but continue with.
So yeah, like other rookie coaches, like not including Urban Meyer because he got fired, but like Brandon Staley for the Chargers, like a lot of coaches are getting all this publicity. But one who's not is Arthur Smith, the new head coach for the Falcons. And out of all the rookie head coaches, he has the second best record and I really like what he's been doing with the Falcons offense. And like you're saying, their future does look bright because they've been taking a guy like Cordero Patterson, who before he was on the Falcons was mainly a kick returner, a very good one at that, a very, very good kick returner. But this year he's lined up at wide receiver, running back, kick returner, punt returner. I think they put him at safety a couple plays too. So that's just insane. So I think, like you said, Shane, the future does look bright for the Falcons. I think this year, they should trade Matt Ryan. As much as I love Matt Ryan, I think it's just time to get a new young guy in there, new head coach. Just start up from the ground up, build around Kyle Pitts, build around Cordero Patterson, build around this new quarterback. But I think the Bills are going to win this game 34-17 and eliminate the Falcons from the playoffs. What do you think?
So going off of what you said about Matt Ryan real quick, I think they should keep him for at least another year and draft a rookie quarterback this year. And then for the 2023 season, they trade Ryan, or I don't know what his contract status is right now. I don't know how much.
That big contract. I don't remember it, but I remember he got paid after he won the MVP in like 2018. At that time, he was like the highest paid quarterback in the league. So like he's up there like top 5 salary wise. Well,
I'm not talking about salary wise. I'm talking about length wise.
Oh, length. I think it ends in 2023 or 2024.
So if it ends in 2023, it makes a lot more sense to trade him, or even if it ends in 24, it makes a lot of sense for them to draft a QB, get him to learn the system, and people think Matt Ryan is is a mid quarterback. I consider him he's a pretty good quarterback. He's just hasn't had the luck that other QBs have with good teams. They've had one good team this entire time he's been in Atlanta, and that year he won MVP. So obviously, if you win MVP, you know what you're doing. But I also think the Bills are winning this game, 28-15. Our next game will be a pretty underrated game, but I think it's going to be a great game in general. We got the Chiefs, who are 11-4, versus the Bengals, who are 9-6, and the Bengals are 4-point underdogs. Two of the top AFC teams will clash in two young quarterbacks with Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow is coming off an historic game. We'll get to that in a second. And the Chiefs have won eight games in a row. And a big portion of it is because of their defense. My question for you here, Will, is do you think Joe Burrow can upset the Chiefs? And do you think with that, if they win, they have the most momentum going into the playoffs of any team in the league?
Let me just say that the Bengals probably have, like, if you look at bright futures, football wise, obviously football wise, Jesus, that was a stupid comment. They're up there. Like, they have a very, very bright future. This team is young. This team is hungry. I was not high on them drafting Jamar Chase. I know they did it to make Joe Burrow happy. I was like, they need an offensive lineman. I don't really think going the wide receiver route was really ideal for the Bengals. But now, look, in hindsight, that was a great pick, and he's most likely going to be the offensive rookie of the year, potentially an All-Pro, kind of like what Justin Jefferson did for the Vikings last year. So, yeah, Joe Burrow coming off the historic game, like you mentioned, Shane, he threw for like 525 yards. It's like top 5 or 4 all time. Insane. If the game was closer and they kept on throwing the ball, he easily could have broke the record of 554 yards in the game, like a single game passing record, easily. But they just blew him out, so they didn't want to keep on throwing the ball. And, flip the sides of the Chiefs, like you said, they've won 8 in a row. They're the hottest team in the NFL. And like you said, it's not really just their offense that we're talking about. It's their defense. So I know, like, I always dog on the Steelers, but, like, the Steelers only scored, like, 10 points, I think, 10 points against the Chiefs. And the Steelers offense isn't the greatest. It's not the best. But it's still the point that they held a team to 10 points. That is extremely good for an NFL team. They held the Raiders to, like, 9 points, 10 points. Since they found out,
they're all field goals, too.
Yeah, 9 points. The Broncos, 9 points. On this winning streak, the only team that scored more than 20 points was the Chargers, and they scored 28 in overtime. But besides that, like, just real quick, 17, 7, 14, 9, 9, 9, 28, 10. That is extremely good. And if you look at the Chiefs' offense, 20, 13, 41, 19, 22, 48, 38, 16. So, or 34, 16, or 34, 36. Oh my God. So, but like you said, their defense is really pulling up coming to form. And I think this is going to be a shootout. What do you think?
See, there's a lot of ways this could go. Like we're talking about the defense of the Chiefs, and like we're kind of like understating their offense. Their offense, I think their offense is a little bit just overrated because I don't think they run it the way they used to. Like when Patrick Mahomes was a rookie, or not a rookie, but his first MVP season, which I think they could be killing everybody right now if they resorted back to that. But they have a complete team, and people I think people are still like underestimating the Chiefs because the problem with the Chiefs ever since this small dynasty, if you want to call it, started, has been their defense. It showed in 2018, it showed in 2019, and it showed last year in the Super Bowl, obviously, when they gave up, I believe, 31 points to the Buccaneers.
It's their Achilles heel.
Yeah.
And if their defense plays good, they're not going to lose. They're just not going to lose.
Yeah, and to go off of that, early this year, their defense was absolutely horrible. You heard me, bashing their defense. If they don't get their defense together, they may not even make the playoffs. And I said that the week of their first game of their winning streak, I said that defense needs to step it up and step it up now. And 8 weeks later, they're 11-4, and I believe they're the top seed, I believe, in the AFC.
Yes. Yep.
And they're hot. They're one of the hottest teams in the league. So, I think from the Bengals' perspective, this is a measuring stick type of game to see because Bengals have been, you said it before, they've been red hot and then super cold all year. Joe Burrow's been playing great. Jamar Chase, like you said, their offense, young, talented,
Joe Mixon.
hungry. And I think it's gonna be a close game.
So I think the winner of this game, it's gonna be a close one, like you said, Shane. 31-27 Chiefs. What about you?
I got it somewhat similar. I got 31-24 Chiefs.
So next game we got is the Giants, who are 4-11, and the Bears, who are 5-6, and the Bears are 6-point favorites here. This one we're not really going to go over too much because it's two teams that suck. Not going to lie, as a Giants fan. So here's the thing, real quick. I know I got a couple people commenting saying like, "Oh, like Will can't call these teams trash and he likes the Giants," but I know the Giants suck. Like I accept this as a terrible football team. They're really bad, but the main thing here is both of these teams expect a major offseason change. For the Giants, we will be firing our general manager, Dave Gettleman. And then for the Bears, they most likely will clean house and fire their GM, but definitely what's his name, Matt Nagy. So the question for you, Shane, is which team will get the win and try to build for next year and finish the season strong? You got the Bears, who Justin Fields will not be playing. It'll be Andy Dalton. The Bears had a crazy win against the Seahawks last week, and Nick Foles proved that he is still a capable quarterback. He may not be the best, but he can still play pretty well. And the Giants got embarrassed by the Eagles last week. I know I joke with you and talk about how Jake Fromm isn't very good, but realistically, he played really, 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 really bad. So, just like, who do you think's going to win this game, man? Like I said, and the crazy thing about this, real quick, too, before I pass it to you, is that the Giants have the Bears pick. So it's like kind of ironic that both of these teams suck, and the Giants have the Bears first round pick. But anyway, continue.
Yeah. So honestly, I think if the Giants lose this game, it helps them because they get higher drafts. They kind of get a higher draft stock in a way, but they also it's a win-win either way. Either way, they lose and they get another step or another closer pick to the top pick. Because, like you said, the Giants have the Bears first round draft pick, or they win, and the Bears lose, and that pick, like what I'm getting. They're either way, they're gonna get two really high draft picks. So I think Giants are gonna win this game, but I think the Giants are gonna between these two teams are gonna have the brighter future. I think they need to draft a lineman. At least one of their two picks needs to be a pretty good lineman. Like you said, there's not really much to say about this. Both teams suck. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about the Bears except they better fire Matt Nagy because it's just embarrassing to watch him call games.
Who do you think's going to win this game, Shane, and score?
21-17 Giants.
I got the Bears winning 20-30. Jesus, 20-30. 20-13. Oh my Lord. 20-13.
William, you can't speak today. It's okay. On to our next game, which will be hopefully an absolute blowout, and I will enjoy every second of it.
I'm calling the Jets on the spread. Taking the Jets on the spread.
Anyways, it will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 11-4 versus the Jets, who are 4-11. The Jets are 13-point underdogs. Tom Brady and Tampa Bay have the highest ranked passing offense in the NFL. That is no surprise. And the New York Jets have the worst defense in the NFL. So you putting the GOAT with possibly his best unit he's ever had, minus the 2007 Patriots unit, possibly, against the worst defense in the NFL. And not to even say it like that, they're the Jets, which I think Tom Brady's lost to the Jets maybe once in his 20-year career or 21-year career, however long he's been in the freaking league. So basically, this game is, it's going to be a blowout, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on what do you think is going to happen in this game here, Will?
Shane, please don't ask stupid questions. What I think's going to happen? Dude, come on.
Okay, anyways, how badly do you think the Buccaneers are going to beat the Jets in this game?
Before I say that, did you know that this is going to be when Zach Wilson starts? And by the way, he probably played the best game of his rookie career so far last week, so that's pretty cool. But out of all the this is going to be the biggest age differential out of any quarterback, like 1v1, I guess, like quarterback v quarterback in NFL history. Tom Brady is exactly 22 years older than Zach Wilson.
That's crazy. That is
So
actually
basically, so like Tom Brady, I mean, Zach Wilson has been like been in the league as long as he's been alive. You know what I'm saying? I think, or just about. But
he's
regardless,
20. I believe he's 21. So that'd make it correct. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so yeah, Zach or Patriots Buccaneers win 35-9. It's going to be a slaughtering chance, and
I have it a little bit worse than that. I have Buccaneers winning 41-3. I trust that Brady puts up 40 plus against the Jets. Anyways, on to our next game, Will.
yeah. So our next game we got is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 8-7, and the Indianapolis Colts, who are 9-6, and the Colts are 8-point favorites here. Now, both teams are fighting tooth and nail in the AFC wildcard hunt. It's also the tale of two opposite teams. Guess record-wise, not really, but the point is that the Raiders started off really hot. They were 3-0, and they've kind of slowed down. When the Colts are the opposite, the Colts started really slow, but now we're heating up in the right time. The factor here is will Carson Wentz play? We won't know that till tomorrow because of COVID protocol. But even if he doesn't play, I think the Colts are still win because Carson Wentz is just a game manager, and that's not a bad thing at all. But realistically, it's just like they just hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor and he does it all essentially. But the Raiders are, still in the playoff hunt, and this is going to be a great game. One of the most underrated matchups of this week because of the stakes that are at hold here. I mean, the Colts are fighting for the playoff spot, fighting to stay alive in the AFC South race. They could still win the division. When the Raiders are trying to make the playoffs for the first time in like 5 years, Derek Carr has a lot of people to prove wrong. So what are your thoughts on this game between the Raiders and the Colts?
I think if the Raiders if their defense keeps Jonathan Taylor under 100 yards, I think the Raiders actually have a shot at winning this game. The Colts, I believe they're their third or fourth seed. So if they lose this game, depending on what happens in the other games, they could drop down to the 7th seed, which is really key, especially with how many good teams there are in the AFC. As far as the Raiders go, they've been through a lot this year from week one, from the first 3 wins of the season being 3-0 to being like 2 games behind 500 to firing their coach to the Henry Ruggs accident situation, and then John Madden just recently dying. There's been a lot of snowballs that's been thrown at the Raiders this year, and they're still in the hunt. I just don't think they have what it takes to beat the Colts this week and make the playoffs.
I agree. It sucks because, like you said, the Raiders, it's like one thing after the other with them, and they're still like fighting and kicking. But I think the Colts win this game 24-19. What about you, Shane?
I have the Colts winning this game 25-18. And to our next game, which will also be a blowout, in my opinion, it will be the Jaguars, who are 2-13, versus the Patriots, who are 9-6. Patriots are 16.5-point underdog or favorites. My bad. The Patriots can clinch a playoff berth with a win over the Jags. They're on a 2-game losing streak. Wow, I can't speak now. That being to the Colts and the Bills. My question for you here, Will, is: do you think Patriots are more than likely going to win this game? Do you think the Patriots clinching this playoff berth? Do you think they're going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs?
I'm not really too sure, honestly. You got to remember that they got a rookie quarterback. This is also going to be a battle of 2 rookie quarterbacks, which is interesting. But the part that really people don't realize is that Mac Jones is still a rookie, like I'm saying, and he's not going to be like Patrick Mahomes' first season. So the fact that the Patriots are this good with a rookie quarterback is scary because most times this is not how things go. So I don't think this year there'll be a real playoff threat, but next year and the future, they're probably another team, like I said, with the Bengals up above, with a very bright future. The Patriots are up there as well. So I don't think this year they'll make a big splash, maybe upset one, maybe make it to the divisional round or be a first-round exit. But regardless, the future does look very bright in New England. They really can't complain. Like I said, they got a rookie quarterback. So, Mac Jones is still going to be making mistakes this year. Last 2 games, he hasn't really been playing the greatest. He's also in a little bit of a slump, but you're not too worried because, again, he's a rookie. So I think the Patriots win this game 27-6. And also the Jaguars are going to be without their star running back, James Robinson, who tore his Achilles on the first play from scrimmage against the Jets. So that sucks. But regardless, Patriots win 27-6. It should be a blowout, and it should be like a bounce back game for the Patriots to get them back on track for the playoff hunt, as you were saying, or the playoff race.
Yeah, I mean, I can go in and fill for the Jaguars anytime they want to call me. But that was a little joke. I don't think I'd want to play for the Jaguars. Tampa though, they can call me anytime. Mac Jones hasn't been playing well, but like you said, he's a rookie. Bill Belichick is an excellent coach. He'll coach his team through the playoffs. In my opinion, I think they could be a dangerous team, but like you said, they got a rookie quarterback. So under tense situations, Mac Jones, we haven't really seen a lot of that this year. The only big games they've had this year really were Tampa Bay and then the 2 Bills games, and one of those games Mac Jones threw for 3 passes. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do in the playoffs. But I have the Patriots winning this game 31-10.
Yeah, like I said, I got the Patriots winning 27-6. So next up we got this is going to be one of the better games of the week. We got the Miami Dolphins at 8-7 versus the Tennessee Titans at 10-5, and the Titans are 3.5-point favorites here. Two teams going into this game on the line. If the Titans win, they will clinch the AFC South for the second straight year. However, if the Dolphins win, they'll win their 8th game in a row and not confirmed, but essentially clinch their playoff berth as well, as long as they don't lose and have a bunch of crazy things happen. This is Ryan Tannehill's first game against the Dolphins since he was traded to Tennessee in 2019. Now, the good thing about the Titans is when Derrick Henry got hurt a couple months ago with a split injury, the big thing for them was to stay afloat in the race and make the playoffs and wait until Henry comes back. And that's essentially what they've done. Is he is supposed to come back next week against whoever they're playing, the Texans. He will be back. And for the Dolphins side of things, they started really bad. They were 1-7, and then now they're 8-7. They won 7 in a row. Granted, and I think Tua has been playing really good. At one point, he was the most accurate quarterback in football. I'm not sure if he still is, but the point is Tua has been a game manager. But again, there's nothing wrong with being a game manager. I love Jalen Waddle. I love the Dolphins team. I think they're a bunch of dogs. With the Titans, it just really upsets me that Julio Jones can't get involved in this offense. It's kind of pisses me off because it's Julio Jones and he's a Hall of Famer, and it's just not. They just don't use him, which is just irritating. But Shane, what are your thoughts on this game between the Dolphins and the Titans?
I've obviously, well, knowing me personally, how I play football. I love Derrick Henry. I love watching Derrick Henry. I love watching the Titans play because of their play style. I think they should. Like you said, it annoys me to a certain extent that they don't use Julio Jones. Maybe because he's older. Maybe they think AJ Brown is a better number 1 fit, if you want to call it. But Ryan Tannehill's got 2 great wide receivers, and then he's got a monster back there at running back who is obviously injured. But like you said earlier, just a second ago, the Titans' goal was to, be in a good position around this time of year with Henry being out and him coming back next week. They could possibly be 11-5 and be second, I believe, in the playoff in the seeding, which is crazy that they only lost 1 spot since Henry's been gone because all they do is give the ball to Henry. And it just shows that Titans they do have a good team even without Henry. They've been, I think, 8 and what was it? Actually, now that I think about it, they've been 2-3, I believe, since I don't even know what I'm saying. Anyways, I think the Titans are going to win this game. I'm really high on the Dolphins, but I think they're just like one big piece away from being a really competitive, scary team in the AFC. I have the Titans winning this game 21-20.
I got the Dolphins winning. I got to disagree. I think that without Derrick Henry, it'll be the X factor. And I love Ryan Tannehill. I think people give him a lot of smoke, but I think the Dolphins will escape with the W 24-21.
On to our next game, which is going to be a pretty Two rivals. Pretty interesting game. We got the Eagles who are 8-7 versus the Washington football team. Washington's 4.5 point underdogs. Um, this was supposed to be rebuilding type of year for both of these teams, especially for the Eagles. But they have a chance to clinch a playoff berth with a win and plus with a couple other help from other games. Um, and then I have one question for you. Actually, I have two. I have two questions for you, Will. Do you think there's a chance for the Eagles to make the playoffs? And what's the future like for Washington? Do you think they get a new quarterback? Do you think um, they change up their offense a little bit? What do you think they go on in Washington in the future?
See, now it's a tough question. I think the Washington. I don't really know, but for the Eagles, I hate the Eagles, but I feel like they will make the playoffs. Not this week. I think the teams that they need to win will lose this week. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I think next week they will clinch. What lies in the future for Washington is another excellent question. And I just don't really know. I mean, they were preseason favorites to be the NFC East winner, and they've just completely fallen off. I think it's Taylor Heineke. I think they should trade for a quarterback that could help them win. But I'm not really too sure, or maybe draft one. But I feel like that's what's holding them back is that their defense has been underperforming for most of the year. I mean, they got blown out by the Cowboys. They got embarrassed. The Cowboys scored like 54 points, 56. And then they almost said their old name. Washington players were seen fighting each other and literally punching each other in the face on the sideline. So it's not looking good for Washington. It seems like their culture is very toxic. So I think the Eagles are going to win this game 24-17. The Eagles have a really bright future. I think their head coach, Nick Sirianni, is doing awesome. He's having a great year. But Eagles win 24-17. What about you, Shane?
Side note before I say that, if anybody was wondering, the Utah-Ohio State game is now tied with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But as for Washington, for the Eagles, I personally think the Eagles have a shot. Like you said, if they do clinch, I think it'll be next week. And as for Washington, I think that's just a bad place to be. In general, I don't think Ron Rivera needs to, get his team together. Because you were right, they were favorites to win this division early in the year, and I was one of those people that thought that they were going to be favorites. Obviously, with a 6-9 record, they're not going to win the division. So I have the Eagles winning this game 24-20.
Oh, yeah. So the next sorry, I zoned out. The next game we have. Why can't I talk today? Like literally, why can't I talk? I gotta take a drink of water. Hold on. For a little bit of a brief intermission, I'm gonna drink my spring water.
Don't choke there, William.
Oh, believe me, I'm not Big Ben Roethlisberger. I don't choke. All right. I don't know what all this stuttering's going on about. Usually, I'm very professional. I got a good radio voice, Shaneson, but I guess I'm turning into I don't even know, man. I can't even talk anymore. But now we got the LA Rams, who are 11-4, going to see Baltimore Ravens, who are 8-7, and the Ravens are 6-point underdogs. So the Ravens are in the same boat as Washington as they got embarrassed last week on national television. The Ravens, Joe Burrow just torched them. I mean, there's really nothing else to say.
Literal pounding is what.
Yeah, I mean, it's just destruction. The Ravens don't play another team like that, and the Rams with Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., Van Jefferson. So that's that. So it's not. The thing here is it's looking like it might be a repeat of last week. They're going to see deja vu. So the main factor is will Lamar play? He's dealing with an ankle injury, and John Harbaugh does not want to risk him playing especially with a mobile quarterback. You don't really want to ruin his career. So he is questionable. But what we saw from Tyler Huntley when he last played against the Packers, it seems like him and, he's a good fit for the offense and he knows what he's doing. With Josh Johnson, I know like the defense sold, but even then, like their offense, the Ravens offense wasn't too bad. It's more so like when their defense with a depleted secondary, their main two cornerbacks are out is going to be like, can they stop the Rams? I don't think so. But my question for you, Shane, is what is the Rams' ceiling come playoff time? Super Bowl contender, NFC title game contender. Do you think they're like, overrated team that'll get bounced in the first round? Like, what are your thoughts on the Rams' potential in the playoffs?
I think it depends who they'll face. I think they're a better team than Green Bay. I think they're a top. I think they're obviously better than the Cowboys. I think they're going to be an NFC title game with the Bucks, obviously, and I don't say that just as a Bucks fan. I genuinely believe the Bucks are of the possibly the most dangerous team when they're really, really hot in the NFC. I think it's going to be, pre-spoiler alert. I think it's going to be Tampa Bay, not Las Vegas. Wow.
That'd be crazy.
LA Rams. Wow. I can't speak today either, Will. But I think it's going to be Rams and Bucks in the playoffs, the NFC title. But I think the Rams in the future, there's a lot of teams with bright futures, but very few of them have this stacked of players on both offense and defense. Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, Odell. Almost forgot about Odell with him being on the Rams now. Obviously, their defense, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey. I love Jalen Ramsey. Aaron Donald as well. I don't think the Ravens are going to win this game, even with Lamar, if he does play. I have the Rams winning this game 28-27.
And I got the Rams winning this game 31-23.
On to our next game, which is two AFC West rivals, as it will be the Broncos, who are 7-8, versus the Chargers, who are 8-7. The Chargers are 7.5-point favorites. Both of these AFC West rivals will meet in a must-win game for both of their playoff hopes. They need to get back on track, or they won't be able to make the playoffs. So my question for you here, Will, is I know you're very high on the Chargers and their future and Justin Herbert. Do you think the Chargers clinch a playoff spot? And if they do you think they could be a very dangerous team heading into the playoffs?
I think the Chargers are actually on the outside looking in with tiebreakers and stuff. But if they do make the playoffs, I think they'll be the team that no one wants to play. But they just have to get to the playoffs. And kind of like with the same thing with the Patriots and Mac Jones, where I'm like, oh, he's a rookie. There's always next year. The same thing applies to the Chargers. Like, they have Justin Herbert, a second-year quarterback, first year with this coach, with Brandon Staley. So if the Chargers don't make the playoffs and they get bounced in the first round, I really don't think it's that big of a deal, because they just, like, their future is insane. And I know a lot of teams are like that, but it's just a fact. And the Broncos, on the other hand, I think they're going to get Aaron Rodgers in the offseason, and they'll be instant contenders, because they're literally a QB away. I think if the Broncos get a really good quarterback in free agency, they are serious Super Bowl contenders. What do you think?
Yeah, I personally think the Chargers are a little bit overrated. I think they're still, like, where their record is, they're good. I just don't think they're like I relate them to the Broncos a lot. Like, Broncos could be easily 8-7 team. Obviously, they started out 3-0 as well.
Teddy Bridgewater's been hurt, though, which sucks.
Yeah,
he had a concussion.
Teddy's been hurt, and I think people hate on Teddy Bridgewater a lot, which I think he's a great quarterback. Last year, or maybe it was the year before. It was last year when he filled in for Drew Brees. I believe he went 5-1 when Drew Brees was out. So obviously, Teddy can be a starting quarterback for any team, or any good team, as I should say. But yeah, I think the Broncos have a bright future as well. The Chargers also have a bright future. I just don't think they'll make the playoffs this year. And for the Broncos, I think a lot of things have to happen for them to even make the 7th seed. But I do have the Broncos winning this game in a very close game, 17-14.
Ooh, going with the upset. I think that's a I could see it, honestly, because we've talked about the Chargers' weaknesses to run defense, and the Broncos are a run-heavy team. But I think the Chargers will just ignore it regardless, and the Chargers win this game 27-16. Going to our next game, which involves the Houston Texans, who are 4-11, against the San Francisco 49ers, who are 8-7. And the 49ers are 12.5-point favorites. So as you saw, or as I said earlier, Shane, Trey Lance is starting for the 49ers. That could be a blessing or a curse. I think it's like a blessing low-key. The 49ers are taking their playoff hopes into their home finale against Houston. Can they clinch their second playoff berth in 5 years under Kyle Shanahan, or can the Texans play spoiler again? Because the Texans have beaten the Chargers like last week, embarrassing loss to the Chargers. They beat the Titans earlier in the year, so they've beaten good teams. So, like, can they do it now, or is it's going to be a close game, honestly? So, what are your how do you think Trey Lance is going to play? Because he played once before when Jimmy Garoppolo had a calf injury, if I'm not mistaken, something to do with his legs. And how he played in the game he started, he went 25 for 48, 354 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. I believe that was an all-one game. I could be wrong. Oh, wait, no. He in the game he started, he went 15 for 29, 192 yards, and had 89 yards on the ground. And he also threw 1 pick. So what are your thoughts on Trey Lance on getting his second career start in the NFL and having to lead the 49ers to the playoffs?
I think Trey Lance fits the 49ers and what they do way better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is a term that you like to throw around for a lot of quarterbacks, a game manager. And I don't think Trey Lance is that. They got Deebo Samuel. They got, all these, they got crap. What's his name? I can't talk
George
today.
Kittle.
Yeah, they got George Kittle. They got a lot of great offensive players a lot of playmakers, and I think Trey Lance would be perfect for this type of offense if he started. But they're still high on Jimmy G. I personally am not. I don't like him as a quarterback. I don't really think he's that good of a quarterback. That could be a hot take, but I'm very high on Trey Lance, and he can run the ball too. So you can do a lot of option plays with him and Deebo if they put him in the backfield, even if you put him out wide with some option read passes or stuff like that. I think this would be a great blessing. I don't even think it's a blessing in disguise. I think this is Trey Lance times, and I think Trey Lance is absolutely gonna scorch the Texans defense, because Texans defense isn't good at all. I can't think of one player on their defense that's good. So I have the 49ers winning this game.
Score,
it's going to be 30-15 49ers.
I got the 49ers also winning. I think they'll win this game 24-14.
Now this next game is another big game with 2 powerful teams in the NFC. It's the Cardinals, who are 10-5, and the Cowboys, who are 11-4. The Cowboys are 6-point favorites. The Cowboys are on a roll. They've won the NFC East. They're climbing through the playoff race as an NFC elite. They're the 2nd seed in the NFC. The Cardinals, they've been struggling with, injuries to Kyle Murray. They're on a losing streak. They started off so good. I believe they started off, I think it was like 8-0, 9-0, something like that. They lost DeAndre Hopkins. So my question for you here, Will, is the injuries that's happening to the Cardinals with Kyle Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, is that the reason for the Cardinals losing, or do you think that they're just a little overrated?
I think that's why. You take away the wide receiver one on the team like DeAndre Hopkins. It's like if you take Devontae Adams away from the Packers, do you think they'll struggle? Yes. Aaron Rodgers is great, but they will definitely be a lot worse without him. Or a team like the I can't even think. I'm drawing a blank. Go figure. Oh, like the Rams with Cooper Kupp. If you take Cooper Kupp from the Rams, you think they're going to struggle? Of course, So I think with DeAndre Hopkins in the playoffs, the Cardinals will be their same old self when they were so hot. I think that's the reason why they're struggling, is because without having DeAndre Hopkins. But the Cowboys are really good. I think they're an elite team. They definitely are an NFC potential favorite. The NFC is just very good this year. Unfortunately, I think, fun fact, Kyler Murray has never lost a single game in the state of Texas, from high school to college.
I knew that. I saw that.
So he's never lost in Texas. He's a Texas boy, and I think that Texas boy comes through again for the Cardinals, and I think the Cardinals win this game 27-24. What about you, Shane?
Yeah. Just side note, I think the Cowboys are a little bit overrated. I don't think they're that great of a team. I think they're a playoff team. I don't think they deserve to be the 2nd seed in the NFC. But I do have the Cardinals winning this game in a close game as well, 31-27 Cardinals.
So the next game we got is going to be the NFC South battle between the Carolina Panthers, who are 5-6, and the Saints, the New Orleans Saints, who are 7-8, and the Saints are 6.5-point favorites. So the Saints need to boost their playoff chances with a win against the reeling Panthers. Sam Darnold is reclaiming the starting position from Cam Newton, and he's looked really bad, which sucks. But he should just retire. And can the Saints make the playoffs? Taysom Hill will be back, and I know last week Ian Book played terrible against the Dolphins. That was expected, though. But what do you think about the Saints' playoff chances? Do you think Taysom Hill, and like I said, it's going to be their defense and Taysom Hill, because he's the X factor. Do you think they will lead the Saints to the playoffs, or do you think they'll just be one step away, or just on the outside looking in?
I think a lot of things have to happen in these next 2 weeks for the Saints. They're one of those teams that they could be capable of making the playoffs. I surely hope they don't, because I don't want them facing the Bucs, because they've been the Bucs' Achilles heel ever since Brady got there. But I don't think they'll make it. I think they'll win this game, but I think too much has to happen. I don't think they're in a great spot for those type of things to happen with help with other teams and other games. As for the Panthers, Sam Darnold getting the starting spot from Cam Newton, that kind of threw me off a little bit this late into the season. I thought they were going to ride Cam Newton out and then release him or trade him or something. But we'll see. We'll see how Sam Darnold does. Cam Newton hasn't done anything since, he yelled into the TV screen, "I'm back," which obviously he's not. But I have the Saints winning this game 27-24.
I got the Saints win this game as well, 21-10.
On to our next game, which is honestly, to me, quite an interesting game just because of what these two teams have gone through this year. You get the Lions for 2-12-1 versus the Seahawks, who are 5-10. The Seahawks are 7.5-point favorites. Seahawks home finale. In my opinion, there should be changes within their organization. This could be the last Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, dynamic duo as part of the Seahawks organization. There'll be questions about the Detroit Lions. Now, I got some things to talk about Detroit. But Will, my question for you is: do you think the Lions are as bad as their record shows? Which could be a very interesting question for a lot of people. But do you think the Lions are really this bad? Like, do you think they're a 2-12-1 type of team, or do you think they've just had some wrong things go their way this year?
I mean, the wrong things go their way. That's with any team. I still think they're a bad team. They've just been messed over, or screwed over. But I still think they're a bad team. In the future for the Seahawks, I mean, we don't really. The future for both of these teams, I think the Lions are just going to slowly rebuild, which is fine. So they're going to be a 5-year, 4-year rebuild. The Seahawks, we don't really know what's going to go on with them. I think it'll be very interesting to see where the offseason goes if they want to move on from Carroll and Wilson. We'll have to see. But for this game, not much to talk about in this game because it's mainly just teams looking for the future, playing for draft spots. I think the Seahawks will win this game 24-14. What about you, Shane?
I was gonna mention something that I said earlier about the Lions. 11 of their games have been decided within 7 points. The week 1 against the 49ers, they lost 41-33. Week 3, they lost to Baltimore 19-17. Week 4, they lost to Chicago, or not Chicago. Week 5, they lost to Minneapolis 19-17. They lost to LA 28-19. They tied with the Steelers. Obviously, that was a very interesting game. They lost to Cleveland the week after 13-10, then lost to Chicago 16-14. And they beat Arizona, and then they lost to the Falcons. So, in my opinion, the reason why I asked you that question is because I disagree. I think the Lions are a better team than 2-12. They got a great coaching staff, like you said earlier in the podcast. I think they've lost, I believe, 3 games. There's 3 game winners they've had, so I think they could be. They're still a bad team, obviously, but I don't think they're as bad as people portray them to be. They just had bad things happen continuously. But I don't think they'll win this game though. I think it'll be close, but I think the Seahawks are going to pull win out 21-20.
Yeah, and I think the Seahawks are going to win 24-14. I don't know if I said that or not, but just to reiterate, 24-14 Seahawks. So let's go into our next game, the Sunday night matchup between the Minnesota Vikings, who are 7-8, and the Green Bay Packers, who are 12-3. And the Packers are 13-point favorites, mainly because Kirk Cousins will not be playing, as I said earlier. So could the Vikings without QB Kirk Cousins complete the sweep of their NFC North rival, as the Vikings did beat the Packers last time they played? The Packers do clinch the first overall seed in the NFC with a win, which is great. That'd be back-to-back years, I believe. Yeah, back-to-back years. And lastly, Shane, my question for you in this matchup. Again, not much to talk about because, Kirk Cousins is out, but they still do have Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. Adam Thielen's out for the season, which is also unfortunate. Do you think Aaron Rodgers wins the MVP again and goes back-to-back or no?
No, I don't think he's been obviously earlier this year he was struggling just a little bit, I believe. I don't think he was as good as he was last year. I think there's too many other candidates. Tom Brady at 44 years old is playing like the best quarterback in the league right now. That could be a hot take for some fans, but I personally don't think. I think Aaron Rodgers. I think he's good enough to be the MVP, obviously, but I don't think he'll win it. As for the game goes, like you said, there's not much to talk about. I'm hoping the Packers don't win. Obviously, being a Bucs fan, I want Buccaneers to have home field advantage. But unfortunately, I do not think that will happen. I think the Packers will win this somewhat easily, considering Cousins and Thielen is out. I think the Packers will go on, win this game, get the first overall seed, and that's a key thing, especially with the Packers, considering where they play. I have the Packers winning this game 35-23.
And I have the Packers win this game 31-16. Crap, the Steelers.
On to our Monday night game,
Crap.
which will be the Browns, who are 7-8 versus the Steelers, who are 7-1. The Browns are 3.5-point favorites. And what could be and most likely be Ben Roethlisberger's last game in Pittsburgh. Can the Steelers still be alive in the AFC playoff hunt with a 7-1 record? And can the Browns salvage their disappointing season? My question here for you, Will. I know you bash on the Steelers, and I know you bash on Big Ben, and know you bash on a lot of things about the Steelers, their organization, their fan base.
TJ Watt.
A couple of our friends. TJ Watt, obviously, which I think you go too deep in. But anyways, my question for you is, do you think the Steelers, if they get the right QB in the offseason, do you think the Steelers have a future playoff run, within the next couple of years? Or do you think they have to just rebuild altogether?
Yeah, I think they should rebuild altogether. Again, not being like a joke or anything. Like, seriously, their offensive line is really, really bad. And that's one of the main reasons why Big Ben has struggled. And I feel like if Ben did have an offensive line, he wouldn't be great, but he'd be a lot better than he is. Not to mention the run game with Najee will be better. But I think they should just rebuild from the ground up. The Browns, I know people hate Baker Mayfield, but people don't realize he's playing with a torn labrum, which is just crazy. So I don't feel like Baker Mayfield is at fault for the Browns' issues. I know he had like 4 picks against the Packers, but I think when he gets the shoulder surgery with his labrum, I think he'll be fine next year. And I think that the Browns, if they get like another, I don't really know how much, maybe if they want to get rid of Baker next year, trade him at the next year's deadline. But I think if Baker gets shoulder surgery, he'll be fine, and the Browns will be chilling. So I got the Packers. I got the Browns winning this game 20-17 on Monday night, and they spoil Big Ben's last home game in Pittsburgh. But that will suck, though. He's a legend in the Pittsburgh area, definitely a Hall of Famer. He had longevity, and it's crazy to think that he started after Brady, and Brady looks 10 times better than Big Ben. Isn't that? That's just crazy. But I got
I think that's crazy.
Yeah, and Big Ben started 3 or 4 years after Tom Brady, and that's just insane. But I got Browns winning 20-17. What about you, Shane?
Yeah, that Brady Roethlisberger stag. You also got to think Big Ben. He's had way more serious injuries than Brady has.
That's true.
I think Brady's been injured. I think once or twice. Big Ben's been injured at least 4 or 5 times. Um, with those famous motorcycle accidents. I think he got injured on trampoline too, which is kind of funny to think about. But yeah, it'll suck if when the Steelers lose this game because I have the Browns winning as well. I think they're rushing. I think Nick Chubb. You've heard me say it. We haven't talked about Nick Chubb yet. Obviously, I'm gonna say it. I think Nick Chubb is a dog. I was watching film on him earlier today, and just the way he moves with his body, with his intensity, he's such a great overall running back. Um, I think he's going to be a stable in the best running backs in the NFL for the next 10 years. But I do have the Browns winning this game 24-17.
So let's go over the game of the weeks. My game of the week is the Arizona Cardinals versus the Dallas Cowboys, and why is that? Because as we said, it's going to be a great offensive game. The Cowboys are playing to be the first seed in the NFC. The Cardinals are trying to get back on track before they make a playoff push, and it'll just be a fun offensive game to watch with a bunch of playoff implications too. So, what's your game of the week, Shane?
My game of the week will be in the AFC, a little less powerful, if you want to call it, type of game than your game of the week. Mine is the Miami Dolphins versus Tennessee Titans. Both teams, they're kind of lopsided. The Miami Dolphins, they're on a hot streak. They're the second hottest team in the AFC. And then the Titans, next week they're getting back King Henry. They just need to win this one game to feel relieved to get and obviously this game has major playoff implications with the Dolphins and where they are at, and the Tennessee Titans on where they are in the playoff hunt. And I think it's going to be a good game in general. Both Miami's got a great defense, as we saw against the Saints. And then their offense is still clicking even without Henry. So we'll see how this game ends up looking like.
So yeah, and lastly, my pick record, I finally got the lead over Shane. My pick record is 78-55, and his is 75-88. So that is going to conclude the Week 17 edition of the Gridiron.
Did you say 75-88?
Oh, my bad, 75-58. Whoops, can't read today. So that's going to conclude this episode of the Gridiron Talk podcast. Shane, do you have anything else you want to say real quick before we wrap it all up?
No, just there's regular stuff. Follow me on Instagram, Big Man Shane. I haven't received the call from the Pro Arena team because I realized they closed their offices for the holidays. So hopefully by our next podcast, I hear something or some info for the future. Make sure you check out Will's other podcast on the Raiders. I know he works just as hard, if not harder, on the other podcast as he does the one with me here on the Gridiron. Just enjoy the rest of the week or the rest of the weekend. I hope everybody had a happy and safe holidays and enjoy watching some interesting football this weekend.
Yep. Everyone take care. I hope everyone had a great new year. Cheers to 2022 being better than 2021. I know we say that every year, but regardless, everyone has a great new year. Everyone has a great rest of their weekend. Don't forget to watch all the football today, rest of football today, football tomorrow, and the football on Monday. So have a great weekend, guys. Stay tuned for the next week's episode. It'll be sometime later next week. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Take care and have a good rest of your New Year's Day, guys.